Alright, hi moms. I wanted to make a quick video, well I guess it's probably not going to be very quick, of how to switch adapt toys, because I've had lots of people ask me, how do you do it, how do you do typical toys, blah blah blah. So, I wanted to give you guys some pointers because it's outrageous how much you have to pay for adapted toys when you can do it at your home for, it's seriously like less than $10. And that's on the high end of what it would cost to adapt a toy once you have all the tools to do it. To do it, you need a soldering iron. I just have a cheap one, nothing fancy. You need, of course, solder. You need flux to go with your solder and soldering gun. You need, I have 24 gauge solid 2-conductor speaker wire. You want solid, you don't want the braided. You need little wire strippers, a box cutter, and these are called 1/8 inch mono inline phone jacks. I got them from Radio Shack. You can actually buy the lines that have like a female end on one end and a male end on the other and cut them, and it's already got a wire on it instead of using speaker wire. That's fine, and then one end's already connected to these and you just splice the other end. That is absolutely fine. This is just what we have locally, and I was impatient and didn't want to order stuff offline. But it is actually cheaper to buy them pre-made and not buy all the separate things, but I guess it's your preference. I personally like doing it this way anyway. So there's several different toys that you can adapt. Any toys that are activated by one button. We have several. We have the cheerleader Minnie Mouse. They have toys like this, like Play School gear toys. It's one button to activate it, so you could do that. Any stuffed animals that have one button to activate. What we're going to do in this video, there's my husband, is a Chicken Dance Elmo, because it has the one button to activate his foot. And there's so many different options. If you do a stuffed animal, all you need to do is find the button on where it's activated. For example, Elmo, he's activated by his foot. But with him, you can unscrew the bottom of his foot. With stuffed animals, it's not that easy. All you need to do is find where the button is and use a seam ripper or cut it or whatever you want. Dig in, find the 2 wires, and splice them the same way we're going to do with this Elmo, and then just sew it back up. You don't have to do it all the way where the button is. Like if the button's on the end of the hand, you can splice it like under the arm so the button or the wire isn't coming out the front of the hand. As long as anywhere on those 2 wires that you splice it together is fine. It doesn't have to be right on the end. I did one earlier. It's a little tricky. It was the puppy piano. And this one, the tricky part between, and I left it apart so I could show you. The tricky part with the puppy piano is it's got multiple buttons. And you would think, how am I going to adapt that? Well, first off, when you adapt a toy, you can still use it without a switch. You can still push the buttons and it still works. Another thing is, with this puppy, if you hit his nose, that's when he played whole songs. So I wanted to switch adapt him to where the button or the switch was activating his nose. So what I did was I took him apart, and there's a lot of wires to this one, and this is all I wanted to show you because this is one of the toys I posted, and when I took it apart I was absolutely confused. But with him, what you have to do is take it apart. This one's a lot of computers, like computer boards. So basically I just took the whole thing apart, and I took a wire, whoops, and spliced it just like I'm going to show you, and I soldered it to the 2 end. When you open it, there's 3 little buttons right here. All you have to do, you don't have to cut any wires or anything. You solder one end to the first button or the last button and one end to the right next to it. The way you can test it is just touch them both at the same time until you find the 2 that activate the nose and solder the 2 on the end. I just wanted to include that in this video because I knew that was one of the toys I posted, and that one's a little different than any of the other toys I've ever done. So, but it's possible, and if somebody really wants to adapt that toy and can't figure it out, message me, and I can explain it the best I can for that one. But anyway, back to Elmo. So what I did was I took his foot apart. First I made sure he worked. He had fresh batteries, so I knew the toy worked. In here there's tons of wires. I'll let you see. Lots of wires. All you need to find is the 2 wires connected to the button. I'm going to pull his batteries out so he doesn't do that the whole time we're doing this. Find the 2 wires that's connected to the button you want to activate. Don't worry about the battery box wires and all the other wires. Just worry about the 2 that are connected to the button. And what I did, there's 2 green wires connected right there and there. And if you see, I took a box cutter and very slowly went around it and removed the coating off of it, off each one of those wires. So once I was able to remove the coating, it exposed the, I don't know what they're called, the copper wiring inside, I guess? The conductors. What kind of wire did you call that, though? It wasn't solid, it was what? The wire. You said, like, this was stranded. There's stranded wires inside. If you accidentally cut the wire, it's not the end of the world. You just strip more of the coating back, and when you solder together, you solder the 2 ends you broke plus the 3rd end that we're going to solder. So if you cut through it, it's not a big deal. If you don't cut through it, it's even better, because then you don't have to solder 3 wires, you only have to solder 2. So what I did was I cut a piece of speaker wire. When I cut it, it's all connected. So I just took a box cutter and separated the 2 wires, stripped the coating off. And I did that to both ends. I feel like I have an audience. I took apart my phone jack, and this is very important because I oftentimes forget to put this little piece on, and then I have to cut the wire and do it again. So remember this. I took the phone jack, unscrewed the plastic part, I set the metal part to the side, slid it down, and just kind of bent each side over, just so I would not forget to add it to the wire later, because like I said, I've done it like 4 times today already. So then I go to the opposite end. I take these 2 wires, and what you want to do, move this before I injure myself, is you want to attach each one of the 2 spliced ends to the wires here and here. You attach one to one end, one to the other, and then you solder them together. If you don't know how to solder, just Google or YouTube how to solder, and it shows you. It's real simple. I just don't want to take the time to explain it, because if I do, this video is going to be even longer. So what you want to do to solder, and like I said, if anybody can't find a good link on how to solder, just let me know and I'll post that too. It's real simple. But you take a little bit of flux, add it to the wires that you're going to solder. And this stuff stinks. I normally don't use my finger. That's what I have right here. But it does stink really bad. And then I'm going to, I gotta set it like this so I can kind of balance it, solder each one of these wires together. You can twist them around one another just to kind of help them stay. That's fine. The main thing is just to get them soldered together real well to when you put it back together, they're not going to come apart. I normally pigtail twist it before I put the flux on it, but I didn't. Just where you kind of just wrap them around each other. You can attach it any way you want, because once you solder it, it's going to be together anyway. So that's what I'm doing now. It's just kind of, and like I said, I should have done this before I put the flux on, but I got ahead of myself because I've adapted like 5 toys today and I'm tired. But I promised this video, so I didn't want to go to bed until I did it. So I'm just wrapping the wire around each other on each separate one. And like I said, sometimes the wires are color-coded. It doesn't matter which one you attach it to. It doesn't have to be red on red on black on black or whatever. It doesn't matter as long as it's the 2 wires that are attached to the part that you want to adapt, the switch that you want to adapt or interfere with, whatever. That's the important part. So I did that. I'm going to solder them together real quick. One thing you want to remember is never put the solder directly on the soldering gun. You want to use the soldering gun to heat up the wire and put the solder on the wire. And that's another thing, like I said, if you find a video on YouTube or whatever, it will tell you that. But I just wanted to throw that in there because we tried to solder multiple times till we figured out the correct way to do it. So I'm just going to do this real quick. It's real simple. Once you get it figured out, it does stink, though. And the flux smokes, and so does the solder. And like I said, it smells really bad. Be careful not to burn yourself, because I did earlier today, and it really, really hurts. I know I'm probably making all kinds of funky faces, but like I said, this stuff stinks really bad. Okay. And it definitely stinks because I melted part of Elmo's foot in the process, but that's okay because the plastic piece will cover it up. So, there's that. The two wires are soldered together. I'm going to make sure they're doing good. I'm going to unplug the soldering iron because that's all I need it for, was to solder those wires together. One thing you may want to do is electrical tape each place you soldered. The reason is, when you put this back together, you do not want those the two separate places you soldered, touching one another, because then it will constantly false activate your toy or make it play constantly, which defeats the whole purpose, and it gets really annoying. So that's what I'm doing now. It's just wrapping each place I soldered with electrical tape, and it's never really pretty, especially getting that flux stuff on your hands and then touching it, and it's greasy, but it goes back inside anyway, so you're not going to see it. The main thing is just, like I said, that those two places don't touch. So I did that. And what I'm going to do, just to test, to make sure that we did it right, I'm going to put the battery back in. I'm going to set Elmo up. And I'm going to take the opposite end of the wire and touch these two together. When you touch them together, Elmo works. So far we're doing everything right. Now I'm going to take that battery back out because Elmo gets very annoying. I'm going to get that piece I just knocked over before. That's that black piece I said don't forget to put on the wire. I am going to close Elmo's foot back up because I do not want to take a chance on knocking apart or loose those wires I just soldered. And since I accidentally burnt Elmo's foot, I'm actually going to take advantage of that spot and use it to bring my wire out. A lot of times you can get lucky and just run it through. Like with Elmo here, he's got multiple screws in his foot. A lot of times what I do is just run it out one screw. If there's not a screw I can run it out, sometimes I'll take my soldering gun and just puncture a hole in the plastic. It stinks really bad and you have to clean the plastic off your soldering gun. You can use a drill, anything like that. Or, like I did with this one on accident, melted it. And, you know, you just have to make a hole to wherever you want that wire to come back out that you're going to connect your switch to. So I'm just going to put a couple screws back in here, just enough to hold it. I'm not going to sit here and keep you guys while I put Elmo totally back together. I just want enough that he's going to stay a little bit while I do the other end. So, there's those. That's good enough for now. We're going to go to the other end. And remember, like I said, do not forget the black piece. Put the black piece on. And then, the other piece has 2 prongs on it. It's got a side prong and a top prong. All you need to do is run one piece of the wire through one. It doesn't matter, like I said before. And twist it around. You can solder it if you want. As long as these 2 don't touch, you don't have to solder it. If they do touch, you know, you could always put a piece of electrical tape on it. Normally I just kind of twist them together until I'm lucky enough they don't touch. You put 1 through 1 and 1 through, and I'll show you once I get it all together, through the other one. Twist it around. And you'll know if they're touching, because if there was batteries in Elmo right now and they were touching, Elmo would be going crazy. He would be activated over and over and over again. If you notice some false activation, once you've already tested it, like we tested it once we put it together to make sure Elmo worked by touching the 2 wires together. If you've already tested it like that and Elmo worked fine then and then started going crazy, you know that you've done something wrong on this part. That's the reason we tested in between, because it kind of gives us a, you know, a place to go back to if something's not right. The good thing is, these are pretty simple to activate, so if you test it multiple times, you know, okay, it worked fine here, and now it's not working. From here to here, I must have done something wrong. So, you do that. You twist the plastic piece on. You put Elmo's battery back in. The good thing is, when you switch out these, you can still use the button on his foot like a typical toy. It doesn't interfere with the regular use of it. So me, I have 2 kids, so if I have one that wants to use a switch toy and one that doesn't, I just kind of, in the back, wherever I can find a place, either tie or twist the, you know, the cord up, or if it's a toy that has like a Velcro in the back, I just shove the thing in there so both my kids can still use it. Put it in the switch, cross our fingers.
Come on, everybody, let's do the chicken dance with Elmo.
And that's it.
Elmo wants to be a chicken, Elmo wants to be a chicken.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to message me. If I need to do a better video closer to the camera, just let me know. I know this video is almost 20 minutes long, but if you have any other questions, just let me know. Thanks, guys.